This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley.
Good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today's Friday, October 3rd of 2025. We're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode of Ag Matters PM, I talk with Dylan Mangel of the SCN Coalition about soybean cyst nematode and how to keep spreading awareness about that ever-present pest. We also have a check of the closing markets with Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. I also want to give a quick shout out to our first episode of the 2025 Beck's Hybrids Harvest Tour. It was posted earlier today. Make sure to check that out, as we always love doing that coverage during the harvest season. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at the conversation with Dylan Mangel of the SCN Coalition as we talk about how to make more and more farmers aware of this pest.
And that soybean cyst nematode, obviously a pest that we have to worry about every single year. So far for this year, particularly, I know you're Nebraska, into Iowa as well. What have we seen for pressure from that soybean cyst nematode?
Well, it's always there. And the problem with the soybean cyst nematode is you don't often know that it's there. So it can be down there, can cause significant yield loss without those noticeable above ground symptoms. Another problem that exacerbates that in Nebraska is sufficient water, and the irrigation capacity we have can sometimes hide it even more. Just by helping those plants out, keeping them, healthy longer. So that's the biggest challenge, is just knowing you have soybean cyst nematode in the first place.
And then when it comes to, you mentioned, the hardest part is finding out where it is. Are we looking at scouting, like kind of the intense scouting, to make sure that you are staying on top of that to see when it's there?
Yeah, so scouting's one thing, but if you're not seeing it, there's nothing you can do there. So what we really rely on is soil testing. Soil testing, it's excellent, it's easy to do, relatively easy to sample and see what they're there. Several states have testing programs in place, which makes it even easier for growers to figure that out. But one thing that growers might have, in absence of seeing actual nematode damage, is seeing damage associated with other pathogens. Oftentimes, this is a parasite that's going to be latching onto those plants, making them more taxed, less healthy in general. We often see cases where sudden death syndrome is especially bad, and oftentimes those can be co-infections of two different problems. So testing there is a good first step.
So when we're looking at soil testing, what's the ideal time of year to be doing those tests to kind of be prepared for next year?
So the nematodes are always going to be there, and they're always going to be in that top portion of the soil that's easy to test. So any time of the year you can test, anytime in your rotation you can test. But you should understand that the population of those nematode levels are going to be highest through a soybean season, and at the end of that season they'll hit their peak. As you rotate, if you rotate into corn for a year, they're going to taper down. So if you're going to try and sample at multiple time points and compare that over years, it's really important to test during the same point in your cycle. But just as a foundation, as a starting point, which we're coming into for a lot of growers, the optimal time to test is right after a soybean season. So as you're harvesting, if you're waiting for the grain bin, waiting for the grain truck, go out, hop out, grab some samples, and utilize those state extension services, which many of them have the free testing programs to get those numbers.
And then, of course, one last thing, with the SCN Coalition, how is that kind of helping those farmers to be prepared against soybean cyst nematode?
Yep. So our big thing is awareness, helping growers identify which management options are available. Testing is that first step, figuring out where you need to management. And like all management, managing for this can be expensive when you're thinking about seed treatments. So figure out where you've got it and target that management there. We definitely share the message that varietal resistance is the foundation to all response to this. PI 88788, the resistance source, has been around for a long time. It's well used, and like a lot of well-used tools, they're not as effective as they once were. So rotating to a different resistance source, like peaking, is becoming more available in varieties. That can really help as well. But maintain that rotation so we keep both of those as effective as possible for the long term. Consider a seed treatment. If you know where you have it, consider trying a seed treatment in those areas. And there's new stuff becoming available in that realm as well. So getting out that message that management is possible for this. If you know you have it, do something about it and start to maintain some of those yields that had been lost in previous years for this.
So Dylan, for anyone who would like to get in touch with the SCN Coalition, learn more and stay up to date, how can they do that?
They can find information online at the scncoalition.com.
That again was Dylan Mangel of the SCN Coalition. We'll take a look at the closing markets next, but first, here's a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and it's time now to take a look at the markets with Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. First off, Curt, what do we see going on in the grain markets today?
Well, just kind of a stable trade. We had corn down 2 to 3 cents on the day, beans down 5 to 6 cents. Wheat was mixed. Boy, just not a whole lot of new news. Technically, we had a little daily reversal down, traded higher last night. This morning closed a little bit lower. But on the week, we're still hanging in there on the weekly chart. So technically, we'll probably consolidate a little bit and kind of see what type of fundamental news comes as. But fundamental news might be slow if the government shut down. Not seeing the sales being reported, if there is. Probably is some sales activities taking place. If you think about some of these larger buyers want to fly under the radar, well, it happened last time we had a shutdown. They came in and continued to buy. So I wouldn't be surprised whenever we get everybody back to work here that we're going to see some sales accumulate fairly quickly. Basis levels in some areas is fairly firm, particularly along the river. Of course, the Northwest continues to struggle with their basis levels. But basis-wise, harvest-wise, here in central Illinois, next 2 days, we're going to pretty well be wrapped up with beans. Not everybody's that far along, but each day that goes by, as dry as it is, it's amazing how fast these beans are coming out. Yields still highly variable, particularly on beans. If you receive some rain, record bean yields in some spots, but if you miss the rain, it's kind of disappointing. But as a whole, I think that bean yield is going to be a little smaller here, Riley.
And of course, as we look at those reports from the government shutdown, likely going to miss that WASDE report next week as well. Without that news, it feels like the markets are extra volatile at this point, just looking for something to react to, right?
Yeah, we're kind of just hinging on the private trade sharing some information. Of course, producers are sharing information. But too, most of the eyes are on the political winds on what type of deal or tariff agreement we get with China. And that's going to be towards the end of the month. But there's going to be some give and take. There's some hope that maybe we'll give up one thing and they'll take some beans off our hands here. But odds are that's not going to happen until after the first of the year. So we'll kind of see what develops out of that news here and kind of be in a position here where we can get something fresh here. But overall news is kind of skinny without that government news coming at us.
All right, Curt, and then on the livestock side of things, how did cattle and hogs trade today?
They held in there. On the daily charts there were fairly good, but on the weekly chart, not so good. Last week's hog and pig report showed a positive outlook. But man, this week we gave about all that back. Cattle-wise, just a little lower, but they held there on the weekly chart. Fundamentally, but we haven't really changed a whole lot of numbers in the beef sector. We're seeing a situation where we've got some fairly good demand, but yet numbers just aren't coming at us here.
All right, Curt, lots of great information today. For anyone who would like to get in touch for more marketing information, how can they do that?
You can give us a call, 1-800-779-1515, or go to agmarket.net.
All right, Curt, thanks again for the time as always, and we look forward to talking again soon.
Very good. Have a good weekend.
That again was Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. We'll take a look at how the numbers close through the market window at iowaagnet.com. At the close, December corn down 2 3/4 at $4.19 even. November soybeans down 5 3/4 at $10.18 even. December soybean meal down 70 cents at $2.7860. Soybean oil down 39 cents at $50.05. Chicago wheat up half a cent at $5.15 1/4. Kansas City hard red wheat down 2 even at $4.97 even. Minneapolis spring wheat down 3/4 cent at $5.59 3/4. December oats down half a cent at $2.99 1/4. On the Merc, October live cattle up 50 cents at $231.02. October feeders up 287 at $357.17. October lean hogs up 30 cents at $98.97. Pork cutout went unchanged at $105.45. And October Class 3 milk down 16 cents at $17.21. That's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM, and that also brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. Also follow us on social media at Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and TikTok, and find our video content as well as previous episodes of AM PM on our YouTube channel. Make sure to stay subscribed and hit that notification bell to see when those videos go live. Check out as well our free morning, midday, and closing market podcasts. Find those on your favorite podcasting services at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, and Podbean. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson, Andy Peterson, and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.